Hello everyone, peace be upon you. Welcome back to another tale, full of twists, ambition, friendship, and tough choices. This story is about three men who made a promise to leave their old ways behind but discovered that freedom isn't always as simple as walking out of a prison gate. If you enjoy these stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Let's begin. Majed, Ayesh, and Samir were known as the Prison Brothers, a nickname they had earned during their years together behind bars. Their paths first crossed in one of Iraq's toughest prisons, each man there for his own reasons. Majed, the oldest of the three at 36, had been a street hustler, always quick to see an opportunity. Tall, with sharp eyes and a natural charm, he was respected by everyone in the prison for his street smarts. But beneath his tough exterior, Majed was a deeply emotional man, haunted by the choices that had brought him here. He dreamed of a family, a stable life, and a future with his fiancée, Fatima. Ayesh, a tall man with an easygoing smile, was different. He was quick to laugh, always cracking jokes, lightening the grimness of prison life. But beneath his humor, Ayesh struggled with deep frustration. He was a man who had always wanted more from life, a man who felt cheated by the world. He had a large family counting on him, especially his younger siblings, who looked up to him as a role model. But instead of the hero they imagined, he felt like he was letting them down. Then there was Samir. Quiet, with a faraway look in his eyes, he was often lost in thought. He had been a skilled mechanic before he got caught up in a small-time theft gone wrong. Samir didn't have Majid's ambition or Ayesh's humor. He had a deep-seated longing for peace. Samir wanted nothing more than a quiet life, free from drama, where he could finally feel safe. In their 3 years together, the Prison Brothers became a family. They shared everything: their meals, their struggles, their dreams. They spent countless nights talking about the lives they wanted to lead once they were free. They had made a pact, a promise that once they were out, they'd leave behind the life of crime and start fresh. One evening, just a week before their release, they sat in their dimly lit cell, sharing a rare moment of silence. Majed broke the quiet. "Listen, brothers," he said, looking at each of them. "We're getting out soon. We have to remember why we wanted this in the first place. No more shortcuts, no more risks. We've paid the price." Ayesh laughed softly. "You think it'll be that easy, Majed? Look at us. Who's going to give guys like us a chance?" Majid's eyes softened. "Maybe it won't be easy. But if we stick together, we can do it. We owe it to our families and to ourselves." Samir nodded quietly, staring out of the tiny cell window. "I don't know about you two, but I'm done with this life. I want out, for good." The three men clasped hands, sealing their pact under the dim prison light. It was a promise they intended to keep. Finally, the day of their release arrived. They walked out together, squinting against the bright sunlight, breathing in the air of freedom. Majed was the first to speak. "We're free, brothers. Free." The three parted ways, each man going to face his own life and the challenges waiting for him. Majed returned to his fiancée, Fatima, who had waited for him all these years. Fatima was a patient woman, but she had grown weary. She dreamed of a stable, peaceful life with Majed, but she feared he might still be the man who took risks. Fatima greeted him with a warm hug, and as they sat down together, she held his hand. "Majed, I need you to promise me one thing. No more trouble. We've waited too long for this." Majed nodded, a reassuring smile on his face. "I promise, Fatima. I'm done with that life." Majed found a job as a waiter in a small restaurant, working long hours to save for their wedding. Every evening, he would come home exhausted but fulfilled. His mother, who was growing frail, would wait for him with a small meal, and they'd sit together, talking about the future he was building. But despite his determination, Majed often found himself frustrated. The pay was meager, and his dreams seemed far away. One evening, as he counted his tips, he thought, "Is this all my life is going to be?" Meanwhile, Ayesh's life was anything but stable. He tried applying for job after job, only to be turned away every time because of his criminal record. The constant rejections gnawed at him, and he felt his hopes slipping away. He would return home to find his siblings waiting, looking at him with expectation and love. He tried to smile, to hide his frustration, but each day felt heavier than the last. One day, after yet another rejection, Ayesh wandered the streets, lost in thought. He bumped into an old friend from his past, someone who offered him a chance to make quick money. Ayesh's resolve faltered. Maybe just once, he thought. Just enough to get me back on my feet. But he remembered his promise to Majed and Samir. He clenched his fists and walked away, determined to stick it out, at least for now. Samir had returned to his small family in Baghdad. His family welcomed him with open arms, but he could feel the judgment in the eyes of his neighbors. They all knew his past, and they whispered behind his back. Samir kept his head down, working as a mechanic and fixing anything he could find. He took pride in his work, and he tried to ignore the gossip, but it was hard. One evening, Samir's younger brother confronted him. "Are you really done with that life, Samir? We can't go through that again." Samir looked at his brother, hurt in his eyes. "I promise you I'm done." Months passed, and the three friends stayed in touch, supporting each other through phone calls. Majed saw that Ayesh was struggling, so he suggested a small reunion. They met at Samir's modest apartment, sitting together and reminiscing about the old days. As the night went on, the laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence. Samir spoke first. "I don't know how much longer I can take this, brothers. I'm trying, but it feels like the whole world's against us." Ayesh nodded, looking at the floor. "I'm just trying to survive out here, and it feels impossible." Majed looked at his friends, understanding their struggles. "Listen, we've made it this far. We can't give up now. We promised each other." But then Samir, with a gleam in his eye, spoke up. "There's one way out. There's a wealthy man nearby with a collection of expensive jewelry. Just one job. Enough to pay off debts. Give us a start." The room was silent. Majed clenched his jaw, torn between his loyalty to his friends and his promise to Fatima. Ayesh's heart raced, and he could feel the old temptation creeping in. After a long silence, Majed finally nodded. Just this once. The three friends planned the heist meticulously. They studied the building, observed the routines, and prepared for every scenario. When the night finally came, they moved silently, slipping into the apartment and finding the jewelry collection. It sparkled in the moonlight, a fortune that could change everything. But their plan unraveled when the doctor's wife woke up and screamed. In the panic, the doctor rushed in, and in the struggle, he was injured. They fled, hearts pounding, realizing that they had made a terrible mistake. Days later, they were arrested. The police had tracked them down, and their faces were splashed across the news. In court, the judge looked at them with disappointment. "You had a second chance, and you threw it away. Back to prison you go." As the cell door closed behind them, the three friends looked at each other, understanding that they had lost everything. They had betrayed their promises, their families, and themselves. And in the quiet of the prison, each man sat alone, haunted by the choices they'd made. Thank you for joining us for this powerful story of friendship, loyalty, and the price of temptation. If you like this tale, please like, share, and subscribe for more. Peace be upon you, and see you next time.